We have a real treat for you. This is actually one of my favorite parts of the day. You've heard incredible thought leaders this morning that are published authors and incredible experiences they've been through. We've learned from their lives, and they're keynote speakers, which is great. But now what you have the opportunity to do is to learn from some people that are potentially in the roles that you're looking to get into. And this part is almost like you're eavesdropping in on a conversation between three executives. So here, joining me on stage right now is the Partner of Financial Services from Osler, Martindale. We also have the Director of Inclusivity, Diversity, Equity, and Belonging, Sara, Aghvami. And we also have the Regional Director of Property Management for Beedie, Julie Wright. So please join me in welcoming them to our stage. If they're from your organization, let's hear you. Yay, there's BestBuy. Come on up, welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad you could join us today. Only 2,000 of your closest friends. No pressure whatsoever, right? Yes, Sara, awesome. The mounting is good, the dismounting is even more challenging, so be prepared for that.
It's a chair for tall people.
Exactly, you know, so here we are, and I'm so thrilled that you're with us today, but can you tell us a little bit about the journey that got you here today? I don't mean taking the LRT, I mean in your careers and into the roles that you're in right now.
Thank you. Well, as you mentioned, I'm a partner at Osler, and my journey here was when Osler was opening the Vancouver office. They opened in 2015, and shortly thereafter, in 2016, they called me up and said, would you like to lead our banking and financial services practice group? And what an amazing opportunity. I was so fortunate to get that call, so I was a little nervous, but it was a wonderful opportunity, and I seized that opportunity. And we've built the Vancouver office now to be a full-service firm with over 50 lawyers, so it's been a really wonderful journey.
Wow, yes. And banking and FI has been my background as well, so I'm looking forward to learning more.
Oh, one of my people.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely one of your people, your ally, your advocate. Sara, what about your journey at BestBuy?
I had a very humble beginning at BestBuy. I actually studied politics. It turns out I hate politics. So I started taking phone calls from very angry customers at BestBuy. That was 25 years ago. And the journey started by asking the 5 whys. Why are the customer upset? Why is process set up such ways? Why does this gap exist? And here we are, 25 years later, and I'm still asking why. But it's been quite a rewarding journey. I'm very lucky to be part of this massive national body called BestBuy. Although our parent company is in Minneapolis, we're a very united Canadian family. I got one wonderful BestBuy woman lined up here, if I can see them. It's a pleasure being here.
Awesome, thanks so much, Sara. Glad you could join us. And Julie?
Yeah, so I graduated UBC with a degree in geography, and I was pretty committed to getting into urban planning with the city of Vancouver. But I had some pretty heavy student loans I needed to pay off first, so I accepted a job as an administrator with a local real estate development company. And I quickly discovered I loved the private sector. I loved that there was no limits to what I could take on. And about 5 years later, my manager was leaving, and he said, hey, they're going to put you forward. You got to say yes. And I said, absolutely not. I am not ready. I don't know anything about financial statements. And he said, that doesn't matter, that's what accountants are for. Trust in yourself, like you're the most qualified person for this job. So anyway, I accepted it and moved up into management and then sort of moved on from there. And it was actually 5 years ago that he called me and asked me to come over to Beedie. There was an opportunity there and he thought that I would do great. And he was asking me how it was going in my current role. And I was saying that, unfortunately, I had a 4-year-old daughter, and they were asking me to work longer and longer hours. And I was really struggling with how to be everything all at once. And he said, I promise you, if you come to Beedie, you'll never be asked to miss a ballet recital again. And so I trusted him. I came over. Everyone sort of told me it was a bit of a step back in my career. And I accepted that, thinking I'm going to put my family first, maybe for a couple of years. And incredibly, I actually, 3 years into it, they promoted me to regional director, and so it's kind of the opposite. So I'm really happy I took a leap of faith. So.
Wow. Yeah, recognition. Today, again, I really want you to feel seen, heard, understood, and that's some compensation. That's what I have to offer for compensation, is their applause. But when I listen to that story, Julie, there's just so much that's there. And so I'm thrilled, and I would love to know who this individual is. And I heard the pronouns he used often. And so there are men that are actually opening windows and doors and phoning people. And so apparently answer the phone when people call, because it could be an incredible opportunity. So awesome. Sara, maybe if I could start with you on this next question. As we focus on the importance of empowering women leaders, what qualities or skills do you believe are essential for leaders to develop to thrive and lead confidently in today's world of work?
I mean, this is no secret to anyone, but getting the details of your work, getting your hands and feet dirty has always been my secret sauce. Without having the itsy bitsy pieces of knowledge, you cannot drive forward. I mean, just words glosses over very quickly, effects of folks does gloss over pretty quickly. There's that, and there's also every wonderful speaker talked about the ability to get out of the way as much as possible. It's not always me who have the great ideas, as long as I have created this nourishing environments where people get it, especially folks younger than me, especially with involvements of AI and all these funky things that I understand is happening. Getting out of the way is actually a great way also of, way of showing leadership. At least that's what's worked for me in the past.
Brilliant. So I'm almost hearing there, we talk so much about mentors, but I'm almost hearing reverse mentorship, where us older people, me, need to embrace the younger people so that I can learn about AI and how to navigate going through this. So if you're a younger person, maybe look for an older person to mentor, is maybe an idea. Julie, did you want to, can I share the question with you again here? As we focus on the importance of empowering women leaders, what qualities or skills do you believe are essential for leaders to develop to thrive and lead confidently in today's world of work?
Yeah, I think one thing that you really have to be is you have to be very fortified in your convictions. You have to be very steadfast in your beliefs. You have to be very steadfast in the values and dreams and goals you want for yourself. I often find that there's an expectation that women need to sort of be thick-skinned to be in leadership, and I really don't feel like that's been the case for me at all. I would actually describe myself as an incredibly sensitive person. I've cried more times than I wish. If anything, I really feel like you almost have to have an imaginary pair of rubber wellies that you have to pack with you and just be ready to slurp through the dirt, put up with the bullshit, unfortunately. It's one of those things where you can do anything with the right pair of shoes, and I really feel like be prepared to get dirty. People are going to stand in your way. They don't mean to. They have their own reasons for doing those things. And I mean, if you're prepared and you can get in the dirt and you can kind of slog through the mud, you can really get around anything, and just look for those ways around the people that are standing in your way.
Wow. Yeah, there's some more compensation recognition for both of you. But I'm really hearing be authentic, and it's okay to be sensitive. Yeah. Because that's kind of what makes us human beings, right? Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Martha, I'm going to come to you next. How important is it to build a personal brand? And what steps can women take to effectively establish and communicate their unique value proposition?
In terms of building a brand, I mean, I'm born in the 70s, so I consider it my reputation. Branding is the new terminology, but I think it's important to be specific and also individual. So I'm a lawyer, and I like to think I'm a good lawyer, but that's not enough. There are a lot of good lawyers, so I need to find what is my specific message. And my message is that I solve problems. I don't find problems. I find solutions, and that I'm practical in those types of things. And so when I'm out in the community, when I'm building my network, when I'm at speaking engagements, I think you all just heard it, I like to be able to make sure that my brand is known and that I focus on those points when I'm meeting with people and trying to sell my services.
Wow, so I'm really hearing you're just in your truth all the time then. You just are who you are.
Yeah, well, and I think Julie touched on that too, and it's really important. I think you could even answer, a lot of building your career and building professional success is about being who you are and letting the world know that, being confident.
I love it. Confidence is such an interesting component, and so often in the leadership coaching work that I do, I'm told just help them build confidence. And I'll say, I wish I could. You could take a 5-month course on confidence. You're not going to be confident after 5 months. But when I studied that, what I realized is that the clearer you are in who you are and what you're about, the more confident you can be. So I challenge my coaching clients to be clear. Who are you? What are you about? And I heard that from Sara as well this morning. So brilliance. Thank you. Thank you. Julie, I'm going to, yes, recognition. Julie, I'm coming back to you again. Many of our speakers have shared how resilience and courage play a crucial role in the overcoming significant challenges in leadership. What personal barriers did you face, and how did you find the courage to overcome them?
Yeah, so I think I sort of touched on it, but having a daughter, I re-entered the workforce, and actually the job that I thought I was returning to was no longer available in the sense that the person who'd stepped in was doing a killer job. So they asked me if I wanted to step into a different role. And I was sort of unconfident and focused on my family, and I thought, sure, I could do that. And I quickly realized it just wasn't for me. And unfortunately, I don't think the company really saw me as a person in that role either. And I was really coming up against barriers from my own company in the sense that the owner was saying, like, I don't really feel comfortable with a woman in this role. I feel like you suit better in an office. I don't want to see you hanging off of the scaffolding. And I was so disheartened because I thought, I was trying something new. I came back. I was reinventing myself, as we sometimes have to do after we become mothers. And to hear that you don't even support me in something you asked me to do, and I thought I was taking on, I was facing my fear, taking on something new. And to have you tell me you don't want me doing that, I just really felt like, sorry, this is my favorite movie, but like, nobody puts baby in a corner. And I just said, you know what, this isn't the place for me. I'm gonna go find somewhere where people appreciate what I can bring to the table. And I've sort of kind of lived by that and learned from that ever since. So if something's not serving me or you're not supporting me, I'll go somewhere that will. And I really encourage everyone to find that opportunity as well.
So, but I still so where did you find the courage to just say, I'm done with you? Like, I get the reason why you would want to leave, but is there anything else you can share about where that courage actually came from?
Yeah, so it's probably another movie reference, I'm sorry. So I assembled my Avengers. I had a really strong group of people that believed in me, and they just felt, I guess they wanted me to do better, and they saw that I could do better, and they saw that I deserved better. And so they just said, go be better. We're here for you. If you fall, we will catch you. Like, try it. You shouldn't put up with that. And I really took strength from those individuals and had a lot of long nights where we had to talk through what I was thinking and doing. But it was my war council, and I was very, very grateful. So.
I love it. I'm visualizing a war council right now. So thank you. And then the other thing you're reminding me of is the word. I just love words, especially not only in the English language, but in English when we use other languages' words. And courage comes from the French, which simply means from the heart. So just do what's in your heart, and away you go. And look at the success you've had to now. Sara, I'm going to come to you now. How do you seek and use feedback for your personal and professional growth? And how can leaders create a culture of constructive feedback within their teams?
Well, a patch of my career in Best Buy included managing logistics. So I managed national home delivery for Best Buy. That meant dealing with 450 truckers, 50 warehouses across the country. I had no idea what I was doing to begin with, but there were a whole bunch of men who had a lot of ideas about what I should be focusing on, including the force on me wearing steel-toe shoes, which never happened, by the way. But there was a lot of feedback, and there was a lot of emotion. I was the first woman in this role for a national company. Obviously, I was freaking out, but somebody trusted in me doing a good job in that role. So my mentor at the time, just calling out to Annalisa King, she's chair of YBR, she was the one I cried to. What are these men and their opinion of what I'm about to do? Like, here's what everybody was talking about, a woman taking our role. And she's like, listen, they probably have a point. They probably have a shitty way of delivering it to you. Take your notepad and start writing everything down. 7 out of 10 criticism always saves your butt. So take the emotions out of it, write down what they're trying to tell you, whether it's ill-intentioned or not, it's meant to do something. And I literally did exactly that. I learned how to take emotions out of feedback, write it down, at times even disconnect eye contact from the individual delivering it to you. And that was black magic for me.
Ooh. Anyone want to chime in on that? Feel free to chime in. I mean, the interesting thing that I heard from you as well, Sara, is that feedback, this is from Tara Moore, who's been one of our speakers here as well. M-O-H-R is how she spells her last name. She said that feedback tells you more about the person giving it than the person receiving it. And when I heard and learned that lesson from her, it was like, wow, okay, so I just will be authentic to myself, but I will adapt my style to that person, knowing that that's what they want more of or less of. Doesn't mean I'm good or bad or right or wrong. It's about them. It's really about them. So, but wow, to eliminate emotion from it, are there any tips for that? Because again, I just do the best job I possibly can every single day that I show up. So if somebody's giving me some constructive feedback, I'm gonna take it personally, and don't tell me don't take it personally because I'm working hard. How do you eliminate the emotion?
It is about, this sounds really nostalgic, but it is pen and paper a lot of times. I literally disconnect my energy from the person I was receiving it from, and I put words down. And in fact, a lot of them had good points. And that's the magic I'm referring to. They're angry, some just didn't want me in that role, but they actually had a very good point. So one after another, when I felt my butt being saved, I actually did, it helped me take the emotions out without issues. And some were crap, and that's fine. That's just life. I mean, pen and paper.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that. Martha, I'm going to come to you with this next question. So drawing on your own experiences, what strategies would you recommend for women looking to attain more prominent roles within their organizations?
Oh, I'm going to touch on some themes we've already.
Oh, good.
But the first answer is visibility. It's important to have visibility, career visibility, and that is, taking on roles within your organization, volunteering to lead a project, or take on a key task that has high visibility, and also outside of your organization. So if there's industry groups or professional organizations, as much as you can raise your profile, that can really help being chosen with raising your career. But where I'm going to touch on what we've been discussing on this panel is it's also really important to be careful about which opportunities you say yes to. You need to be discerning. I find, and I don't know if everybody is like this, but I actually find myself more inclined to say yes than to say no. And sometimes I say yes too often. And so one of the things that I have learned throughout my career is when an opportunity arises to think, how much time is this going to take me? What are the benefits? What are the costs in taking on this project? Because I have kids and hobbies and things I like to do, and so the value to me needs to be commensurate with the time. So seek out opportunities, take them on, but only if the value proposition is there.
Wow. Raise your hand if you say yes to everything that comes your way. Yeah, look at all the hands going up here. But the courage to say no? I got a lot of work on courage. I got to do a lot of work on courage. Julie, did you have some thoughts about that question as well? Let me share. Oh, you're good?
Yeah, well, so I actually had my stepdaughter called us. So she's accepted a role in Toronto, so she's working away from the family, and she's struggling a bit in her role, and she feels like a lot of the men she's working with are seeing opportunities before she's been able to get some. And so she called her dad and myself and asked, what should I do? What's next? And I actually felt like we kind of led her astray, so I'm happy to be able to share this with everyone. But both of us answered we've never actually advocated that for ourselves. We've never actually gone to our managers and said, we'd like a promotion, we'd like a raise. We've always sort of just let our work speak for itself, but we've had faith that the company would see the value we brought. And one of the things that her dad often says to all of us is that you kind of have to make yourself an invaluable contributor to the organization. And where I make that practical in my practice is when you're working on a project, sometimes when you're young or you're new to a role, you're not really sure how you can make an impact. You're sort of just there learning, might be afraid to speak up. But what I've really found is there's always a way that you can make a contribution. And sometimes that's just being the most organized, being the most prepared, doing your research, and those things really start to show. And so I think showing up and being prepared as much as possible. And if you do eventually decide to go in front of your manager and make that request for a promotion, which I have had many employees come to me to do. Be prepared, do your research. Oftentimes I think people go out and they see, well, there's a similar role and they're paying this, and they'll come to me and say, hey, like, I've collected the tokens, I'm ready to move to the next level. And unfortunately, they actually haven't been able to achieve the skills needed at our organization to move them to that next level. They just think, well, I've given the number of years and I see other people moving up, so I deserve it too. And so I definitely think it's important to meet regularly with your manager. It's something that Beedie, we talk about a lot, but you should be meeting with your manager. We say at least every 2 weeks, but you can determine that with your own manager what works for your organization. But that way, when you actually meet with your manager, they know what your aspirations are, they know what you want, and you guys both can work on a plan on what that goal looks like, what you sort of need to achieve and learn until the next level. And that way, it doesn't come as a surprise at year end when you're waiting for your bonus or you're waiting for a promotion and it's not there. All year long, you're very dialed in and you both know what you're looking for from each other.
Wow, yes. I love it, because you're reminding me, so with my team of direct reports, I had my regular one-on-ones with them. And there was always one question I asked, and that was, what accomplishment are you most proud of since we last met? And the first time I asked that question, they're like, Bill, you ask a lot of weird questions. That's like the weirdest question you've ever asked. And I'm like, yeah, what's the answer? I'm like, I don't know. And then the next one-on-one came and I asked the same question again, what accomplishment are you most proud of? And they're like, that question again? And I'm like, yeah, and I'm gonna ask it again in our next one-on-one. So like you said, I encourage you to come prepared. And so they could tell me. And I think, what accomplishment are you most proud of? And then I said, let me be abundantly clear with you. I expect you to have your resume on the desktop of your work computer. How many corporations put up job postings? And you're like, tonight, I'm gonna get my resume together and I'll apply for that. That night you get home and whatever is happening in your life, you don't get it done. And the next night you say, I'm gonna do it again, and you don't. And 10 days later, you say, oh, well, I guess it's too late to apply. It was actually a part of my strategy, though, was that I knew that everybody on my team could apply for a job inside the organization or outside of the organization at any time. They were ready. They had a list of all of their accomplishments. That's your resume. And so if they were there, it's because they chose to be there, not because they felt trapped. So thanks for reminding me of that. So yeah, what accomplishment are you most proud of? Can you articulate it? I love it. Sara, I'm coming back for you. Sara Al-Harazi discussed the power of purpose-driven leadership. How do you align your leadership style with a sense of purpose to inspire and motivate your team?
So similar to Sara, I'm also an immigrant, also coming from a war-torn country. So happiness bar for me was quite low for us, meaning a lot of things made me happy as opposed to my peers or the colleagues or my friends in Canada. So what it meant for me coming from where I came from is leaving any situation where humans are left in better conditions, animals, creatures, whatever it may be. I mean, it sounds very cliche, but really at the end of the day, if somebody felt better or something was left in a better condition for an individual, even one person, for me, that job is done. So for that reason, outside work, I sit on boards, I volunteer. I don't have kids, so I give back in that sense. So my leadership style continues to be, or my purpose or mission is try to always do better at all times. I don't know a world where I'm not doing that or stopping bad things from happening for that reason. So that is the one way I'm going to go to bed every night and for as long as I live, and hopefully we can do better things together to make that happen.
And what a brilliant definition of leadership. Like, I mean, if you're looking at yourself at the end of the day, that's a pretty simple and brilliant question. What did I do today to make things better here? Is there one thing I did to make things better? And maybe even each morning, just ask yourself that same question. What's one thing I'm going to do today to make things better here? Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it's also reminding me when you talked about a low bar for happiness. And so if I'm really understanding you correctly, are you saying that potentially we maybe take for granted so much of what we have here?
For sure. I mean, no fault of anyone. Nobody wants to be born where they're born or live through the conditions that have lived through. But coming to Canada about 30 years ago, a lot of things, or basic things, including freedom, made me happy. Where it was kind of people, my peers were born with it, or my classmates. So I never lost touch on my origins for that matter. I encourage everybody just to be happy with the basic fact that we're coming to school. I don't have to cover my head to do so, or we're not under attack on any given day. So that low bar stuck with me, actually was an okay thing. And I'm trying to make it so for folks who know me for that reason, because there's so many things to be upset about. Look at the world around us and how rapidly it gets worse. You know, some wars are having anniversaries under us. So it's okay to have a low happiness bar for that reason, I think.
I love that. Let's lower our bar for happiness. Yeah, yeah. The simplest things in life, right? Martha, coming to you again, what role has networking played in your career advancement? How can leadership effectively build and leverage professional networks and alliances?
Well, networking has played, I think, an enormous role, because that is how opportunities find their way to you. So there's no way to know what opportunities exist. You just need to work hard, do a good job, be your authentic self, but also let people know who you are and be out there and known to them. And, you know, in the early years, that means attending events and participating and volunteering. And then I find now that I'm older, networking means seeing my network regularly. You know, maybe just sending an article or having a cup of coffee or asking if, you know, if they move organizations, can I meet your new team? And by being out there and meeting people and being known and knowing people, then when somebody gets that call, they think, oh, there's Martha. She would be great for this. You know, we had coffee last month, and 6 months ago she sent me an article on this very topic.
So what I'm hearing is that there's no real intention of wanting something. It's about connection?
That's exactly right. It's about knowing people who are in your industry and in your career vicinity, and maintaining those relationships without seeking any kind of benefit in the immediate timeline, but mostly so that you can help them, and maybe the opportunities will come back.
Wow, and then you're just top of mind for everybody else. Like, that's brilliant, brilliant,
Yes.
brilliant. Julie, yeah.
I just want to say I love that answer, because whenever I hear the word networking or mentoring, I sort of always roll my eyes, because it reminds me of being in like a stuffy room with the badge and you're like trying to figure out who you want to talk to. And or my sister's an incredible networker, and she's constantly emailing people and asking, can they meet for coffee? I'm like, how do you put yourself out there? Like, that's just not me. But I love the idea that networking is just communicating and having a network of people, and even as simple as sending an email or sharing a new idea, or, you know, following someone on LinkedIn, because I think everyone has time for that in their lives, and it's not something that you're actively doing, but you're right, that's where opportunities come from. That's where they came from me. So that's a really great answer.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And Julie, I'm coming to you again now with this next question. So how do you incorporate emotional intelligence and mental wellness into your leadership style to foster a supportive and resilient team environment?
Yeah, so I think I touched on one of the reasons I came to Beedie was the concept of a bit of balance for me. And I think that is so important, especially with mental wellness. So everybody's life ebbs and flows. And I think it's incredibly important as a leader for you to look at your team and realize that they have many things going on in their lives outside of work. And it's not always going to be, they can't always be top of their game. They can't always work the hours you need. So I very much try to tell my team, you know, be on when you can be on, but if you have days when you need to be off, that's okay too, and the rest of us will be there to pick it up. And I think Beedie's been wonderful. When I was trying to make the decision to come over, the head of HR at the time called me to see how I was feeling, and she was actually at home with her 2 sick kids, and she just said, listen, the job's 37.5 hours a week. However you fit that into your week is all we ask. It's between you and your manager. As HR people, we don't want to hear so-and-so wasn't in the office at 8:30 and they left at 4. As long as you're getting your work done, that's all we ask of you, and everything else is between you and your manager. And so I definitely try to give that same opportunity to the people that work with me, because some days you get a really terrible call and someone just takes the wind out of your sails and you just want to go off for a run or drink a bottle of wine or whatever. Go for it. You know, that's mental wellness for me. So.
I like that concept of the bottle of wine a lot, Chardonnay, yeah. But actually, can I tap back into another answer that you gave us earlier? What did it feel like when he said, you will never miss another recital or Little League game or friend who's on a panel that you can go and watch them, and we're not going to judge? What did that feel like?
I mean, at first it felt like relief because it finally meant like maybe I can have it all. But quite honestly, it was just, for me, it was very fulfilling because I finally realized that I could have a career path and I could also be the mother that I wanted to be. And it was so refreshing, especially in real estate. I don't mean to give it a bad name, but that you could have balance in your life and that you could be all of those things. And I was basically being told, no, you have to work more and more hours, longer hours. That's the only way that you can get ahead. And instead, here I was being told, we're a family company. We believe in family. And that meant the world to me.
That's amazing. And, it's interesting in 2024 for me, family is first. Family is first. My sister and brother-in-law are in the front row over here, so I'm thrilled that they're here. But not everybody has and chooses those family ways, if you will. So being able to support a friend who's on a panel or, your children, Little League games, whatever it might be, or a recital, it's so cool that we can say, no, this is a part of who I am and what I'm about, and that's how I'm showing up. I'm showing up. Martha, I'm going to come back to you again here. Dr. Mary Murphy spoke about cultures of innovation and growth. What strategies have you implemented to foster an innovative culture within Osler?
Well, I think one of the key things is, there's two key things. The first is that we really promote education and learning. And so by having the knowledge of the firm available to everybody, we film every lunch and learn, we film every seminar, and you can always go and learn from what has happened previously. That sort of opens the door of what can be done next. We also really encourage our young folks, and by that I mean associates, so they're like adults, not children, to come to us with ideas and innovations. We have a contest every year that if your idea is the best idea submitted, then there's a financial prize. It's like $500.
$500, I'll take it. That's a lot of Chardonnay.
And so essentially at Osler, what we do is we try to build paths and opportunities for ideas and innovation, and we reward them. Beautiful.
So basically, Osler puts their money where their mouth is, right? If you want to get better, which we talked about earlier as well, you need to be able to innovate and improve. Yes. Wow. Brilliant. I am learning so much today. I love it. Julie, going to come back to you again here. What advice would you give to women about advocating for themselves in their careers, whether it's negotiating for a raise or asking for a promotion or seeking those new opportunities?
Yeah, I think I kind of answered this already, but again, it comes back to the be prepared idea. I definitely think the other thing that's important is you need to figure out your values and make sure that you're not comparing what you have with somewhere else where maybe you're looking and it's like, well, it's more money, so that matters more to me. I've had a lot of people that have come to me and said, if you don't give me this title or you don't give me this raise, I'm going to leave. And unfortunately, they've come back later to say, I really wish I'd listened. There was so much opportunity to grow, and I didn't realize it at the time because I was so set on the title. And now that I've moved on and I have the title, I realized that I missed out on a lot of growth and opportunity and education in the environment that I was in. So I do think it's important to take stock of, list out the things that you're looking for, but don't forget to count the things like if you've got a great leader or a great team or there's an exciting project, put that in there as well, along with the salary that you're hoping to get and the vacation time, because those things really matter at the end of the day.
So wow, I love that answer because you're really tying in so many things that I heard from all three of you. And the acronym is PIE. And really think about how you would divide your pie, where the P is your performance. Now, everybody sees your performance. Everybody knows the results that you've achieved and those things, or do they? Maybe you need to let people know the accomplishments that you've had. Back to my favorite question again, what accomplishment are you most proud of? But PIE is for your performance. I is for your image. You were talking about your leadership image. And so what's your intended image? Like, whatever role you're in your organization right now, you leave a legacy. People are talking about you right now. And so what is your leadership image? And is it what you intended it to be? And then the E in PI stands for exposure. And how exposed are you to the other leaders in the organization? You were talking about that person that he knew you really well and called you up for this opportunity, right? And so how much are people talking about you at more senior levels within the organization? So some really cool things. Now, a question for all of you here, reflecting, and Sara, I'm going to start with you if you wouldn't mind. Reflecting on your leadership journey, what are some of the most profound lessons that you've learned? What advice would you give to women aspiring to leadership roles here today?
I would say a lot of times when we go out to work, obviously, we have an executive team to please. I never believed in that. I think it's your 360 are ultimately the people you're working with every day. So everybody should feel consistently good about you. It's your external partners, your internal partners, people who work for you, people a few layers beneath you, which is the wrong term to use, but that's the truth. So it's not about pleasing the boss per se. It's really showing up as you at every level, consistently every day. And to me, that's how I've gotten every single role. It's just you absolutely confident in what you can bring. In addition to that, it goes back to also being a servant leader at the end of the day. So I'm never afraid to drop what I'm doing and pick up the entry-level work and do whatever it takes. So it all comes down together, which makes the brand that my amazing peer panelists here are talking about. It is, and it evolves over time. Times are changing. The most famous virus had us change. We're no longer the same people we were before. So for that reason, maybe a few years from now, I have a different answer for you, but that's where it stands today, yeah.
Thank you, thank you. And so maybe, Julie, if I can start with you and work our way down. In a word, as you look out over this audience, what gives you hope?
I had said fulfillment, so I hope you all find fulfillment, or can find your fulfillment.
Beautiful, thank you. Sara. Yes, recognition for that.
I go back to the word was used earlier. It is belonging. It's a sense of belonging to a family together, which you thrive.
Awesome. And Martha?
I would say equality. I think it's taking way longer than we'd like, but at least every year we're getting a little further ahead.
Step by step, inch by inch. Can we make some bounds, though, please? Can we make some big jumps here really, really soon? This is your time eavesdropping in on an executive conversation, so thank you, Martha, Sara, and Julie. Thank you so much.